Now you may be staring at this and thinking, what on earth is going on? Well, I'm going to tell you. What you have is the right hand jig, which is car 1, and you have the left hand jig, which is car 1, right? Car and coal. And then this part here is the bit that's going to go inside here to cover the radio, but obviously I can't fit that right now because I've got these jigs on. So what you do is you go to former 1, 2, 3, 4 there, and that just about slips in to that position there, and then this jig rests on the top. Oh, I can't see very well. So there's your slot for former 4, and then this then rests on top of the fuselage. Okay, and do the same the other side. Then you pin it to the side of the fuselage. Then you take the upper wing, making sure that rib CR2 either side is inside these 2 uprights. Okay, and then you sort of bring it together and pin it. Well, I'm just using an elastic band for that. So these 2 ribs here and here have to rest flat on top of that jig. Okay, and then you take out the struts, whose numbers I can't remember right now, and what you do is you put the pokey end in there, flat end in there, and do the same for the other sides and the back one. Yeah, and then what you got to do is trial fit them, and then sand these down, take them out, sand them down, and bevel them in until that rib, can't do it very well, that rib there lays flush with the top there on both sides equally, and then you should be right. And then what you do, you make sure it's all correct, and then you glue these in with epoxy resin. Now I am going to do all of that. I haven't done it yet, obviously, but what I'm going to do is I might leave these out just for now until after I've covered that, and then put them back in, if you're with me. Okay, and that's where we're at with that. So that's what you should end up with at the moment. Doesn't look very pretty, does it? But anyway, so I'm keeping these 2 sides together with a weak elastic band. Don't use a strong one, use a weak one, otherwise you'll pull the pins out from the sides. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll let you know how I get on. Well, putting the wings to one side for now, we come back to the fuselage. Now they will ask you to put on in the instructions the cockpit top. This, I would agree, is a very good place to start. Do not take this section out, leave it in for now. And the reason is that when you come to form this over, comes flat, okay, it does bend quite well, but if you bend it and you take this out, you're going to split it all the way along the edges. So this helps that to stop happening. Now what you do is you wet this side only, not both sides, just this side, because that will expand and it will help it to bend over. Then use some masking tape and mask it into place. Now if you really want to make a good job of it, let it dry overnight. Let it dry overnight and then take the masking off, and then it won't stay exactly the same, but it'll be more or less the right shape. You then trim off 0.5 millimetre or maybe 1 millimetre at a time each side, there and then there, in equal measure until it fits. Then, like this here, you have to get halfway through the former and cut ever so carefully, taking patience and care to cut the edge off to leave that little ridge there. Okay, and then that allows the next piece to go on. Now in the instructions they say to leave these struts in. This is not a strut, I know, it's just a piece of wood. I'll do show you. Although I have done what I need to do, I'm leaving these out for now to make it easier to put these on and to put the final skin on, and then I'll put them back and take it from there. So once you've got this one on and it's all glued in, now I use the white PVA for this because I think you should not rush this. Use the white PVA rather than the Zap glue because it just gives you time to do something. If you use a Zap glue, you've got to be rushing. You know, you're against time for that to go off. It's setting it. You know, it's starting to set immediately as it hits the air. With the PVA, you've got a little bit of time to get adjustments in. So the same with this. So now you've got that little ridge here. You get your next piece, and it'll obviously it's numbered, but you'll see that it has these cutouts here for the struts. And again, hold it on, wet the top, hold it down with masking tape, and then you'll find that these are too long. This bit's too long, this bit's too long. So you need to take off a millimetre here, take off a millimetre here until it fits, and then if you want to, and you've got made sure that you're happy that it fits, glue it down with a white PVA glue and then trim the edge off there, ready for the next bit. Yeah, so you can see I've already wetted this one down. It's more or less the shape. Obviously, look, it's too big, isn't it? But it's the right shape. So I'm not forcing it, and that's the whole thing. So I offer this up, okay, and I can see that's going to see this. Don't worry about this. This comes out. That if I offer it up like that there and there, because that's where it rests, you'll see there's a gap. So what I need to do to make that sit correctly, take a millimetre off here, millimetre off there, and then offer it up until it rests on here, and it will look something like that. Okay, and notice you've got to have a few millimetre here. Now with me it doesn't really matter with me too much because I'm making this which goes in and out, so if that's actually flush with that, then that's good for me. I'll make good use of that. But that's how you do it. You glue it down with the PVA, put a tape across here, tape across here, tape across here, and then leave it alone, let it dry, come back to it, and all will be well. Now, coming back to the headrest, they show you doing this a bit later in the build, but I did it now because of just the way I'm built. With this, you have this little semicircular piece that is shaped. It's all pre-shaped. You glue that on the back of this spar here, making sure it's vertical and it seats nicely. Once that's glued, now I did use the Zap glue for that, and then you have this piece here which comes in a triangle. You wet it down. Now I did use a Zap glue again. I put a bit of Zap glue around the edge here, and you hold it on, and you hold it there with your fingers until it dries. It takes a couple of minutes for that to dry. Then it naturally comes out this shape. Once you know that's dry, don't try and sand it yet because it's wet. Okay, turn it upside down, and what I did was I got myself a long piece of spare wood and I put Zap glue on the end of it, and I dabbed it on the inside to glue the inside of that cockpit there. Okay, and it just runs along and it glues itself down, and I just put a little bit of glue on there, tiniest bit of glue, and then when that's all dry like this is, then you can sand this bit down. I'm using a very fine sander here. It's washable. Not really sure what grade it is. It says 100 there, but it's a lot finer than that. I know it is. It's probably a 600, and I just lightly got that to shape. There's nothing else to do there. You can see that it's not overlapping the coal and the cockpit, so now that's done, that's done, that's done. So I'm just going to carry on until the end, and I'll come back to you. One thing I have started doing is, you'll find that where the formers go in, where they don't fit exactly, so you're going to get a little dip in there. Just fill them in with filler. I'm just using normal household filler. You can use the light, what they call light balloons, if you want to. This is just as good as far as I'm concerned. So when you come and put the skin on, it's all nice and flat and there's no dinks in it. So yeah, that's my topical tip. So there you are. That's where we're going and that's where we're at. And I'll see you once I've got this bit done here. So where have we got to? Well, this actual bit here is really unnecessary for you to do, because I'm just jumping the book a little bit here, because I wanted to cover the top of that fuselage before I put these struts in. So unless you're sort of, well, adventurous like myself, don't recommend it. Anyway, so what I have done is I went out and I went to the post office and I bought these little Lazzy bands, as they say in Birmingham, 70p for a whole box full, and they've been absolutely godsending because they fit across here and hold on that jig, and I put them top and bottom and they've worked out tremendously well. So just to explain what I have and have not done or whatever, I'm just going to take these off now. Take off the top wing if I can without breaking it. There you go, set that to one side. And then take the pins out of the jigs, which I hope will be an easy task. And bottom Lazzy band, see. Top and bottom absolutely spot on for doing what you need to do with these jigs. Highly recommend that, because they say, oh, pin it on. Well, you're weakening the fuselage, putting all these blooming holes in. They don't stay there, but the Lazzy bands save the day. Now, I have put some masking tape along where the top deck goes to give me a very good line to put this jig up against it. So now these are epoxied in, and what I have done is I've used some crayons, used a yellow, a brown and a black, just gone down the side of the wood there and then rub my finger on it, and it makes it look a bit more realistic. Sometimes I do this with propellers, but that's another story. So if you take this off very carefully, we now are left with, there you go, that could be ironed down. We're left with that. Same with the other side. And I've purely done this, what I've done here, just so I can get this film on without the struts getting in my way, and that's the only real reason I've done it. Yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the backside, but you know, if you're in no rush, then that's what I recommend. But I'm not saying you should do it. Oh, that needs ironing back down again. And there we go. Okay. So I've not used this particular film before. So I mean, obviously I use an iron, which is this thing here. I've got it set just below 2. This is a McGregor iron. It just says 1, 2, 3 low and high. 2, 1, 2, 3 low and high. 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 1, 2 I'm pretty sure if you threw some more money at it, you could probably get a better one that's going to give you exactly what you need. I don't know, but there you are. So the struts are in. They seem to be solid enough. So we're back to where we should be, and obviously I've done the hatch here. There's the magnet, and put the pins in there, and make sure it's on the other side. That's it. And not a bad fit. Quite pleased with that. And that's where we're at with that. Now, I will need to carry on and put some film around the headrest first, then the cockpit, and then across here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to one side. Now I've got it to where I want it to be, and I will carry on with the tail section. Now, tail section looks a lot like this. I've used this little tool here, centering tool, to get center of the joints here and here, so I can put the blade through so that they line up with the front ends of the tail. This is some hinges in. Handy little tool there. Difficult to come by the way. Now, the one difficulty I had with this was that they give you a pre-bent U-shape to go in here, right? And it wasn't bent properly, and I spent an hour and a half trying to get this bent up the right shape. I gave it up at the end because I suddenly remembered I had an aileron joint which is the same size, which is 2mm, and then I bent this one into shape, and that took me 6 minutes. So they would have been better off giving you a straight piece of 2mm wire and bend it yourself. They do give a guide here which I had to measure out. That's just 13mm between this bend and this bend, 29mm between those two ends, and when I did that and did it from a straight piece, it just went straight in and it worked first time, rather than messing about with this because it's already been pre-bent. Now, if they're going to supply this, they should make a jig, a metal jig, do it in a factory, bend it to shape properly, and then it's right and it can't be wrong and it fits. So either do it properly or just give a straight bed of wire. That's my advice to the manufacturers, because it's just a pain in the backside to try and make something bent wrong to bend right. You just easier just to get a fresh piece and just do it yourself from scratch. So that's where we're at. So now you have to get your stringers, put all this together, do the frame, glue the frame, make sure it's pinned down like this for about all these sections, and once that glue's dry, I use the zap glue on this. Once all that's glue's dry, then you put your stringers in. Now I put these in first, the verticals, all the verticals, and I let that go off, which took about 5 minutes, and then I did the zigzag, if you like. That didn't take any time at all, so I made this part up in about 10 minutes. Didn't take any time at all, neither did any of this. The only bit that took any time was this metal bit here, and I epoxied that in last night, and I've not unpinned it to check it, so I'll be giving this a jolly good sanding. That's if the Omicrons don't get us first. Give it a jolly good sanding, and that'll be ready for covering, and then I will make the tail fin and rudder. So that's where we're at for now, and this all comes out of this piece here, sheet D. So I did admit, where's that coming to the mix? But anyway, it turns out it's all on sheet D, and they do give you a nice little photograph in the book of destructions, and that's where I got to here, step 5. So that's where we're at for now. That's my advice and opinion on things. I'm going to keep these jigs because I have a feeling that these are going to come in useful at a later date. Not only perhaps for this model, but I'm thinking of making the Guillows, and I might copy this jig, or no, I'm not going to copy the jig. I'm going to use this as a guide to make my own jig when I do the Guillows. See how that turns out. In the meantime, I managed to find a little box of these lying around, which I was looking for, and my good lady wife decided within 30 seconds to find them, because that's what women are good at, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't care if that's sexist or transphobic or whatever. Right, if you're offended, I don't give a shit. Anyway, so there you go. That's where we are. And I'm running out of glue, so I might go down the shop today and get some more. It's yeah, little bit in the bottom there. See how we get on. Thanks for watching.